They told us to trust the science, trust the doctors, and trust the system. But what happens when that system views you as nothing more than spare parts? When hospitals see dollar signs instead of heartbeats? RFK Jr. just exposed the medical establishment's darkest secrets, and it's more horrifying than anything you've ever imagined. Patients showing signs of life, moving on operating tables, waking up moments before being carved up for organs. Now, this is not some horror movie. This is actually happening in American hospitals. It's happening right now. And the video evidence is undeniable. The testimonies are devastating, and the medical industrial is scrambling to keep you from learning what they have been doing behind those operating room doors. You need to hear this. Now, before we do, you probably think your 401k is safe, but it wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift retirement costs and risk onto you, leaving your savings exposed to crashes, inflation, and chaos. But Americans are waking up and taking control with real assets like gold. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands secure their future by converting part of their 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. It's safe and smart. Visit nextnewsgold.com to get your free wealth protection kit and discover how to safeguard your savings. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins absolutely free. That's nextnewsgold.com, your exit from the danger zone. Or call that number, 877-646-5347. And when the guys over there pick up the phone, tell them Gary Franchi said hello. Okay, so are you ready for this? This is scary stuff, man. Scary, scary stuff. Here is HS Gov organ transplant chief Secretary Kennedy calling for reforms to the organ donation system after alarming reports that doctors tried to remove organs from patients who still showed signs of life. Thank you, God, for Robert F. Kennedy stepping into HHS. If he wasn't there, if we had another administration, everything that is happening right now with our health, with our with the jabs, we would not be learning the truth. Everything would be swept under the rug. Check this out.
What are some? All right, now to this, an alarming story to put it mildly. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. is calling for reforms to the U.S. organ donation system. This comes after an investigation unearthed a whole lot of reports of doctors, American doctors, trying to remove organs from patients who still show signs of life, brain activity. Secretary Kennedy says, quote, "Our findings showed that hospitals allowed the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life, and this is horrifying. The entire system must be fixed to ensure every potential donor's life is treated with the sanctity it deserves." So let's bring in the HHS organ transplant chief, Dr. Raymond Lynch. Doctor, thank you for joining us on this. Going to read you this quick New York Times headline. Doctors were prepared for their organs, then they woke up. A federal investigation found a Kentucky nonprofit pushed hospital workers towards surgery despite signs of revival in patients. Does this shock and horrify you as much as it does a layperson like me to hear?
Yeah, I think everybody has a right to expect better from the system than what we saw in our investigation.
To not be murdered, essentially.
Well, so
to have your organs harvested.
The investigation did not find that. This was that the individuals were not being appropriately evaluated, meaning that they weren't doing a good job or an acceptable job identifying the individuals who could be organ donors.
All right, well, let's talk about this, though. The study that your organization carried out found at least 28 patients may not have been deceased at the time organ procurement was initiated. So how do you, I mean, what is that? What do you describe that as?
So not to get too into the details, and I'm not in any way undercutting the investigation here and the need to do better. But what we found in our investigation was that those 28 individuals did not have a time of death, meaning that, again, this organ procurement organization, the group that the federal government pays to do this work, it was finding individuals who did not go on to pass away. That they had an operation to recover their organs, but it does mean that they got care that was inappropriate to them.
I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying. That is an important distinction there. What are some other, out of 103 cases, the HHS study found 29.3% showed concerning features.
Yeah, so this is something, again, that I want to stress that we expect better of the system. The main features here were that they were not doing an adequate job identifying who could be organ donor candidates, or if they made that initial assessment, that they didn't.
Let's keep going. There's some more to break down here. Okay, here's a haunting video. Shows a man thought to be brain dead moments before he woke up in the operating table during organ donation surgery. 36-year-old Thomas TJ Hoover II was being honor walked at a Baptist Health Richmond Hospital in Kentucky, October 2021, a practice where loved ones staff flows to honor a patient taken off life support. However, Hoover, hospitalized after an overdose, wasn't dead and moments later attempted to pull out his own teeth as the surgery started. The transplant was ultimately canceled, prompting several employees to resign. Before the procedure, Hoover's family expressed concerns that he was still alive as his eyes were open and he appeared to be looking around while being wheeled into the operating room. They were reassured it was a common reflex. So this is the moment when he was being honor walked. How crazy is this? And then shortly thereafter, he woke up, still showing signs of life. Oh, horrible. Now, let's listen in on NTD.
The Department of Health and Human Services is moving to reform the organ transplant industry in states. Now, this follows a study that found that some hospitals allowed organ procurement, killing people for their organs, despite patients showing signs of life. According to the HHS, they examined more than 300 cases where organ donation was authorized but not completed. And what it found was that nearly 30% of the cases showed concerning features, including, it says, 73 patients with neurological signs incompatible with organ donation. The people were not brain dead. They were still alive. They say at least 28 patients may not have been deceased at the time of organ procurement was initiated. Some hospitals follows a study of signs incompatible with organ donation, meaning the people were not brain dead. They were still alive. They say at least 28 patients may not have been deceased at the time of organ procurement was initiated. And RFK Jr. and the HHS are going to be moving to fix this. RFK Jr. said our findings show hospitals allowed the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life, and this is horrifying. He said the organ procurement organizations that coordinate access to transplants will be held accountable.
Yeah, they should be. So, let's see. We have this health secretary. Here's more from News Nation. Okay, let's listen to this woman here. Please listen and take note. You opt out of organ donation.
Not dead. It's a lie. There's no such thing as brain death. If your heart is beating, you're not dead. It's a lie. You're not dead. It's a lie. It was a lie that was manufactured so that they could do their eugenics, taking organs from one person to the next. First of all, you cannot take an organ from a dead body, from a cadaver. Within 3 minutes of no oxygen, you're going to start damaging cells. In 5 minutes, you're going to have cellular death. You have got to be alive to take your organs. That's the end of it. You're not dead. Who makes the best organ donor? Under 30 with a beating heart, a circulation, and ideally on a ventilator. When is the decision made to take your organs? Very early on, probably before you are even aware what they are doing. Because the treatment to preserve your organs is very different to the treatment to save your life. In the UK on the 22nd of May, everybody became an organ donor unless you opt out. People do not know. So the minute that you make that 999 phone call, everything's up there on the screen. They know who you are. This is why they want you on a digital system. Your entire medical history is going to be fed through AI, how much tax you pay, what you're worth to the system. And that's going to come up with whether you're a yay or a nay. Are you getting life-saving treatment? On end of care? What age are you? Are you then for organ donor? This is very important that people know this. And so you have to ask, what is this? It's eugenics. It's eugenics.
Holy cow. Okay, check this out. Tom Gilmore via David Harris Jr., RFK Jr. ended the horrific organ transplant abuses. Under previous HHS, organs were taken from people still showing signs of life. The broad scope is under, well, we have this. This is from, this is actual post from RFK Jr. Our findings show that hospitals allow the organ procurement process to begin when patients showed signs of life. This is horrifying. The organ procurement organizations that coordinate access to transplants will be held accountable. The entire system must be fixed to ensure that every potential donor's life is treated with the sanctity that it deserves. Okay, so here's the broad scope. RFK announcing major reforms. Investigation revealed systemic failures, including organ retrieval initiated on patients showing signs of life. HRSA reviewed 351 cases where organ donation was authorized but not completed, identifying serious issues in 29.3% of cases. Patients not deceased, at least 28 patients may not have been deceased when organ procurement began. Findings via small investigation. Neurological signs ignored. 73 patients showed neurological signs like consciousness incompatible with organ donation. Pain procedures. Multiple patients exhibited signs of pain or distress during organ retrieval preparations. Coerced consent. Families faced pressure to authorize donations compromising informed consent. Premature life support removal. Hospital staff were urged to remove life support prematurely. Protocol violations. A Kentucky OPO failed to follow the 5-minute post-death observation rule. Negligence overlooked. A prior OPTN review under the Biden administration dismissed concerns despite evidence of misconduct. Vulnerable hospitals, smaller and rural hospitals, significant oversight protocol gaps. So that's the actual finding in a nutshell. This is from 3 days ago from Representative Marinette Miller Weeks, who is an MD, mom, doctor, veteran congresswoman, probably serving Iowa's 1st District, member of the House Commerce and Veterans Affairs. And here she is, a physician. Organ donation starts with trust. As a physician, former OR nurse, and someone who knows loss, I know how personal this is to restore confidence in the system for donors, families, and every life waiting. Listen.
I'm sure they were brain dead. I probably have a unique perspective coming into this hearing. So first and foremost, I was a newly made lieutenant at Walter Reed, where having been an emergency room nurse, I was then a neurosurgical nurse working on a floor that had comatose patients, brain dead patients, and talking with family members, doing studies, sure they were brain dead, and then talking to those family members about organ donation. Then I did that as an emergency room doctor, serving on trauma, doing a general surgery internship in a very busy hospital, Bexar County Hospital in San Antonio. And then finally through my residency in ophthalmology. So both as a nurse and as a physician have been in those very delicate conversations with family members, determining first and foremost that their family member is in fact brain dead and may not continue to have a viable life. And then as a physician and ophthalmologist, doing vision-saving corneal transplant surgery on children, on adults with chemical injury or heritable diseases. And so when I say that donation is only possible due to the public trust and generosity of families, I know that firsthand. I probably have a unique perspective.
So if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is why people don't trust doctors anymore. This is why Americans are ripping up their donor cards. When Thomas Hoover woke up on that operating table, he exposed an industry that treats human beings like automotive junkyards. They declared him brain dead while his brain was very much alive. They started the honor walk while he still had a fight left. RFK Jr. isn't just reforming, burning down a corrupt temple where profits matter more than patients. And Representative Miller Meeks nailed it. Trust is gone. And it should be. How many people were harvested while still alive? How many families were lied to? How many doctors looked the other way? So here's my question. Should doctors who harvest organs from living patients, should they face murder charges? Drop a yes or no. Let's continue the conversation in the comments. And if you want to support our work at the Next News Now, go to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Help us expose President Otto Penn, Alligator Alcatraz. Pick your favorite member of the administration and trigger a liberal today.